I know this film is considered to be one of the weaker installments across the entire Spider-Man franchise, but I do think there's still a lot of greatness in this film. And honestly, in my opinion, I do think Spider-Man 3 is still a better film than a lot of the other comic book films that have released since 2007. It's at least more fun. I think part of the reason why this film is looked at so negatively is because of how spectacular the first two Spider-Man films in Raimi's trilogy were. I do think it is fair to say that this is definitely overbloated with characters compared to the previous two films. And while I do agree with that, I do think what director Sam Raimi does here with the cards he was dealt with is still pretty impressive. I read that he didn't want to use Venom at all, and he just wanted to keep Harry Osborn as the new Green Goblin and Sandman as the main villains, but the Sony higher-ups forced the Venom symbiote storyline into this one. The action scenes here are so visually engaging, and they hold up pretty well almost 20 years later. But it is also a little hilarious how almost every time I start to notice a really weird character thing about Spider-Man 3, Raimi inserts another kick-ass action sequence to make you forget about it, at least for a little while. The best part about the film, in my opinion, is Sandman, and the Sandman has my favorite character journey in this entire trilogy. There is not one single wasted scene with him. The decision to keep him as a great character was really great, and you can definitely see why Raimi wanted him to close out the trilogy. I wish there was way more Sandman in this film, but what is presented here is still really great. And this might be a hot take, but I do kind of like how Sandman was retconned into what happened with Uncle Ben. For me, I thought it was an interesting revelation, but I do wish that scene was included after Peter Parker gets the symbiote, as I think it would have given something more interesting not only to Sandman but to Peter and the trilogy as a whole, as it lends itself more to the with great power comes great responsibility mindset. Even before Peter gets the symbiote, he does a couple of things that feel really out of character, and this is the case for several major characters in this film outside of Sandman. The journey that they go on here is a pretty insane roller coaster. Even though Raimi didn't want to do the whole Venom symbiote storyline, I do think what is included in here is kind of cool. And Raimi also does some pretty cool visual stuff involving the symbiote that still holds up well even with today's technology. Now, when talking about Harry Osborn as the new Green Goblin, I do think at the start Harry does have a pretty great motivation to go after Peter, and their first fight was really creative and super fun to watch. Raimi always cooks when it comes to the action scenes in this film, but after that first fight, the way the character was handled seemed like a bit of a last-minute decision to make space for the Venom storyline, which was frustrating, but I don't blame Raimi or his creative team at all, as they likely were forced into doing so. All the stuff involving MJ has always been so soap opera throughout this trilogy, but the stuff involving her in this story was too much for me. It was a little disappointing how in each one of these stories of this trilogy, she always gets kind of reduced to a damsel in distress and a bit of a punching bag of a character. Now, I haven't read many Spider-Man comics, but from what I have read, I do know that MJ is capable of much more than what she has been portrayed as in these films. And also, Kirsten Dunst would have done a pretty great job if she was given a better script for her version of the character. For me, the thing that makes this so memorable and memeable is how campy and goofy it can get. It is pretty hilarious, and it is amplified with how the scenes are edited together. I mean, the whole Bully Maguire sequence is so damn funny when you realize that this is what a nerd like Peter thinks a cool guy is actually like. But yeah, even though Spider-Man 3 is a step down from the previous two films, this is still a pretty fun blockbuster that at least tried to be bold and take some swings, even if it missed on most of them. What did you think about Spider-Man 3? Comment below.